Hello everyone. Very good evening to all of you. Am I clearly visible, audible? Everything is good to go? Can anyone confirm in the chat box the visibility, audibility, everything is good to go? I will start the session. I guess it's working. Let me check. I guess yes, it's working. Yes, I guess. So I welcome you all for today's session. I welcome this batch, the third Prof Buster 1.0. In this batch, we are going to cover ENT today. I mean, we are going to take a topic of the subject ENT. Okay, ENT today. Yesterday also, we have started the topic in ENT. We have covered diseases of middle ear, disorders of middle ear. And we have covered the various types of acute otitis media. Yesterday, I taught you 4 various types of acute otitis media. Today also we are going to continue with the disorders of the middle ear cavity only. And today we will see chronic otitis media along with an important topic called steatoma. So first of all, we will see what is cholesteatoma. We will see all its detail and then we will come on chronic otitis media, because you can't understand chronic otitis media unless and until you don't know what's cholesteatoma. So let me share my screen quickly with you and start the session. I guess you can see the screen. Can you respond once again? If you can see the screen along with my video, everything is good to go. Can I start? You can see annotations also. Yes, let me confirm. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for confirmation. Thank you, Ragini, Reddy, Harshi. Thank you so much. So as I told you in this batch, the third Prof Buster 1.0, we are going to cover ENT today. Okay. And in ENT, we have already started this chapter, this topic, that is disorders of middle ear. Yesterday, I taught you, we have revised the anatomy of the middle ear and we have seen the acute disorders of the middle ear. Today, we'll see the chronic one. So as you know, we divide the ear into 3 portions. Yesterday also we have revised the anatomy. So today we are not revising the anatomy, just moving forward. So we divide the ear into 3 portions: external ear, middle ear and internal ear. You can see this portion is external ear, this portion is middle ear, this portion is internal ear. So you can see these are the various parts over the ear. Currently we are interested only in middle ear. This all we have already studied in anatomy of ears. So do watch that session if you have not watched yet. Okay, do watch that. And currently today we will see the disorders of the middle ear. So we are interested only in middle ear. You can see the middle ear is divided into 3 portions: tympanic membrane, tympanic cavity proper, which is connected with eustachian tube as well as mastoid antrum. So yesterday I taught you the tympanic cavity proper, anteriorly it is connected with eustachian tube and posteriorly it is connected with mastoid antrum, okay, via adductors. You can see this is the diagram of middle ear cavity from here to here. We have already seen that. You can see the 3 portions. This is middle ear cavity, that is tympanic cavity. Anteriorly, it is connected to eustachian tube. This is eustachian tube anteriorly. And posteriorly, it is connected to mastoid antrum via a tube which is known as adductus. So this is middle ear. This is proper middle ear. This is known as middle ear cleft. I call these 3 structures together as middle ear cleft. In middle ear cleft, we are having a middle ear cavity which is connected anteriorly with eustachian tube and posteriorly to mastoid ear cells via antrum. You have to understand it. Now, yesterday we have already completed the disorders, acute disorders of middle ear. I taught you 4 disorders yesterday in the form of the master chart. I taught you ASOM, that is acute suppurative otitis media. I taught you ANOM. It's a variant of ASOM. You know, the hyper exaggerated variant of the ASOM, acute necrotizing otitis media. I taught you otitis media with effusion and otitic barotrauma, that is aero-otitis media. So we have completed all these 4 in the form of a fixed set of heading and in master chart. I guess we are done with this. So today, this is the master chart. I have shown you all the diagrams. We have understood it clearly. These are the 4 stages of the first one. ASOM having 5 stages. We have completed that. So let's move on to today's topic. Just a second. Am I clearly visible, audible? Everything is good to go? Okay. So let's start with today's topic. So today I am going to teach you 2 big topics. I am going to teach you the chronic disorders of the middle ear, that is known as chronic suppurative otitis media, that is CSOM. Yesterday I taught you ASOM. I taught you ASOM. This is acute suppurative otitis media. Okay, and its variants. Today I am going to teach you CSOM, that is chronic suppurative otitis media, but you can't understand that unless and until you understand cholesteatoma. So first of all, we have to understand what is cholesteatoma. We have to see its detail and then we have to come on CSOM. So let's start my first topic of today, cholesteatoma. Can I start? You people are ready? So let's start quickly, cholesteatoma. So you know my way of teaching. I first always give you the overview, the headings under which I'm going to teach you that particular topic. So this is cholesteatoma. I am going to teach you under these headings one by one. Let's start with the introduction. You must understand what is cholesteatoma. I'm damn sure many of you even don't have heard the term cholesteatoma. And what does it mean? You don't understand. So let me explain you in the introduction. What is cholesteatoma? You know now what is middle ear cleft. You know the middle ear cavity. I have just revised you. What is middle ear cleft? So this middle ear cavity is actually a cube. I taught you, it's like a cube having 6 sides. You can see the 6 sides: anterior, posterior, medial, lateral, roof, floor, having the 6 sides. It's like a cube, the middle ear cleft. Okay. Now what is the lining? What is the lining of middle ear cleft? What is the lining of this tube? What is the lining? Is it squamous? Is it cuboidal? Is it columnar? What is the lining? My question to you, What is the lining of the middle ear cleft? You know middle ear. What is the lining? So the answer is, our lining is columnar and cuboidal. It's never squamous. It's never squamous. In the anterior and inferior parts, it's ciliated columnar. It's ciliated columnar. So in anterior and inferior part, anterior and inferior portion, you can say this inferior portion, it's columnar, and posterior and superior portion, it's cuboidal. This is middle ear cleft. So you can see this is columnar, this is cuboidal. Columnar, maybe it's a special variant of columnar. It's ciliated columnar. You know the lining is ciliated, the cilia is there. Okay, so you can see two type of lining is there. In the anterior and inferior part, it's columnar, ciliated columnar. You can see this one. This one is present in anterior and inferior part of the cleft. Okay, and in the middle and the attic, attic means superior. Attic का मतलब होता है superior. In the middle and the superior portion, it's cuboidal. This one is cuboidal. So you can say posterior and superior part. Anterior की जगह posterior, inferior की जगह superior. It's cuboidal. But the point is that it's nowhere. Highlight the word nowhere. It's nowhere keratinizing squamous epithelia. Nowhere squamous epithelia. You know, squamous epithelia is present in the skin. It is present in the skin, but it is not present in the middle ear. It is not present in the middle ear. You got my point? So what is my introduction? I want you to highlight the lining of the middle ear. You can see this is middle ear cavity. I want you to tell me the lining, this lining. So this lining is either columnar or cuboidal. You can see cuboidal is a variant of columnar only. So it's columnar or cuboidal, a flattened columnar. Okay, but it's not squamous. It's not squamous. Please understand what I mean to say. Why I am highlighting the word it's not squamous, because I want to tell you this is my pinna. This is my pinna. Can you see the pinna in this diagram? Appreciate. What is the lining of the pinna? See, ma'am, it's skin. It's stratified squamous. That is skin. So this is skin, stratified squamous. Okay, it is leading to external auditory canal. See, this is external auditory canal. It's going inside external auditory canal. So here also it's squamous. Okay, here also it's squamous. And after that we have tympanic membrane. The tympanic membrane have three layers. The outermost layer is squamous only. The middle layer is fibrous. And the innermost layer is mucosa. I taught you this in the tympanic membrane anatomy. Okay, but after that we don't have squamous. Now let's talk about the middle ear. In the middle ear, we don't have squamous. I am saying it is either columnar or cuboidal, but it's not squamous. So I have highlighted the squamous with black. You can see. And I have highlighted the columnar and the cuboidal with the green color. And tympanic membrane is at the junction of the two. Are you getting it what I am saying? Are you getting it what I am saying? Now, what is cholesteatoma? Cholesteatoma is squamous epithelia in the middle ear. Can I draw the squamous epithelia in the middle ear? What if this black color, if I continue either from EAC or from the tympanic membrane into the middle ear? This is cholesteatoma. Cholesteatoma is squamous epithelia in the middle ear. Normally, middle ear don't have squamous epithelia. You're getting my point? So this is EAC. EAC is squamous. Tympanic membrane ka outermost layer is squamous. Middle is fibrous, innermost is mucosal. But inner ear is not squamous. Not at all. Never. The middle ear is columnar or cuboidal, but it's not squamous. But if the squamous enter in the middle ear, either via EAC or via tympanic membrane and form a mass over there, this is cholesteatoma. So what is the definition of cholesteatoma? Cholesteatoma is nothing. It's squamous epithelia in the middle ear. It's squamous epithelia in middle ear. Normally, middle ear don't have squamous epithelia. Or you can say skin in middle ear. In middle ear, there is skin. That is cholesteatoma. How many of you got it? How many of you got it? How it will come, I will tell you, Hershey. First, you understand the definition. So, you understood the introduction. In the introduction, I told you the lining of the middle ear. The lining of middle ear. Normal lining of middle ear is columnar or cuboidal, but it's never squamous. Never squamous. Okay, what is cholesteatoma? Coming on the definition of cholesteatoma. What is cholesteatoma? Presence of squamous epithelia in the middle ear. Presence of squamous epithelia in the middle ear. So you can say skin in the wrong place. Skin is present inside the middle ear, or its other name is epidermosis or keratoma. These are the other names of cholesteatoma. Cholesteatoma, also known as epidermosis or also known as keratoma. These are the other names of cholesteatoma. How many of you got it? How many of you got the definition? So the definition of cholesteatoma in front of you, you all can see that the pinna is made up of squamous epithelia, that is skin. EAC is made up of squamous epithelia, that is skin. Tympanic membrane outermost layer is squamous epithelia, that is skin. But if the squamous epithelia enters in the middle ear and form a mass over there, this squamous epithelia entering in the middle ear, that's called osteotoma. Say people say, so please learn this diagram and you should be able to draw that. You should be able to draw that. Can you appreciate this all? You can appreciate this is skin in the middle ear. Appreciate a mass of keratinizing squamous epithelia in the middle ear. The size can vary. This is cholesteatoma. So what is cholesteatoma? Can you define it? Cholesteatoma is keratinizing squamous epithelia in the middle ear. Normally middle ear don't have squamous epithelia. But if squamous epithelia enters in the middle ear, it is cholesteatoma. You can appreciate the same. You can appreciate this is cholesteatoma. See it again. Can you see this again? See here. Let me zoom it out. You can see this mass. It is keratinizing squamous epithelia, and appreciate it is in the middle ear, and this is cholesteatoma. So why it is known as cholesteatoma? Looking at the word, you may think, ma'am, is it made up of cholesterol? No. Toma, oma. You know, oma is a suffix given to the tumors. Is it a tumor? No. So it's a misnomer. It's a misnomer both the ways. Neither it is made up of cholesterol nor it's a tumor. It's a misnomer. The term cholesteatoma is a misnomer. If I say the cholesteatoma term to a layman who's not a medico, the person will think cholesteatoma, maybe it is made up of cholesterol, that's why known as cholesteatoma. Or oma, fibroma. There are various omas. Omas yani tumor. So is it a tumor? No. So neither it have cholesterol nor it is a tumor. So it is a misnomer. It is a misnomer. That's you have to write in the definition. So till now I taught you the introduction. I taught you the definition. In the introduction, I taught you what is introduction? The lining of middle ear. Normal lining of middle ear. What is the lining of middle ear? Is it cuboidal or columnar, but not squamous? And what is cholesteatoma? Squamous epithelia in the middle ear. Or you can say skin at the wrong place. Okay, so this is cholesteatoma. Now coming on the parts of cholesteatoma. What are the various parts of cholesteatoma? Cholesteatoma is having two parts. It is having a matrix and it is having a central mass. Appreciate. The cholesteatoma is like this. Can you see? This is cholesteatoma. Now the brown color is the bone of the middle ear. This is the bone in which middle ear is fitted. This is the bone. Now see, where is squamous epithelia? The squamous epithelia is this one. Appreciate, I'm highlighting with the red color. This is squamous epithelia. It formed the matrix. So outer portion is matrix, which is made up of keratinizing squamous epithelia. So outer portion is matrix, which is made up of keratinizing squamous epithelia. And it is surrounded by thin fibrous tissue. Appreciate the thin fibrous tissue outer. This is thin fibrous tissue present outer to it. Outside brown color is the bone. Now this matrix will lay, it will keep on laying keratin debris, which will deposit at the center. It will keep on laying the keratin debris. The red portion is laying the keratin debris, which is depositing in the pocket at the center, and it is forming the central mass. So the cholesteatoma is having two portions. What are the two portions? It is having an outer matrix. This is outer matrix, which is made up of stratified squamous epithelia, the red color, and a central mass, that is keratin mass. So the yellow mass is laid by the red portion only. Okay, it is keep on laying, it is keep on laying, it is keep on laying, and it is getting accumulated there. So these are the two parts of cholesteatoma. Say people say you're getting it. What are the two parts of cholesteatoma? So it is having a matrix which is present outside, and the matrix is the epithelia, stratified squamous epithelia. It is laying the keratin, and the keratin is getting deposited at the center. So these are the two parts of cholesteatoma. Very simple. So it is having a matrix which is present outside. It is surrounded by fibrous stroma, and this matrix is actually squamous epithelia, and it is laying the mass. It is laying the central mass, keratin mass, the central mass. It is debris at the center. So this is how cholesteatoma is formed. Can you see in this diagram where is cholesteatoma? Appreciate, in this cholesteatoma, I will draw the outer matrix. This is the outer matrix, which is the squamous epithelia only. Which is the squamous epithelia, and I will draw a central mass, the keratin debris, which is laid by the outer matrix. So this is how we are drawing the cholesteatoma. So till now, what you know the normal lining of the middle ear. You know the definition of cholesteatoma. It is simply squamous epithelia in middle ear. Lung, squamous epithelia in middle ear. That's cholesteatoma. You know that it's two parts. It is having a matrix, which is the outline, and it is having a central mass. The central mass is the keratin. Okay, now the biggest question, how does it origin? How does it origin? I am saying middle ear don't have squamous epithelia. Middle ear is having columnar epithelia. The middle ear is having cuboidal epithelia. So how How come squamous epithelia is coming in the middle ear? भाई आता कैसे है? If it is not present. For forming cholesteatoma, the squamous epithelia must come in this middle ear. Then only cholesteatoma will form. But how it is coming? So there are various theories for that. And it's debated. We don't know which theory is correct. All theories we will study, but we don't know which one is correct. So what is the origin? Origin is a matter of debate. It's a matter of debate. We don't know how exactly the squamous epithelia is coming in the middle ear cleft. So that is the biggest question. So various scientists have given various theories. So there are 5 theories. We don't know which one is correct. So you have to write all 5 theories in your exam and you get MCQs on all 5 theories. So I will teach you 5 theories with 5 diagram in the form of a master chart. Single master chart having 5 theories. Origin of cholesteatoma. How does cholesteatoma arise? So you have to tell me how squamous epithelia is coming in the middle ear. You are getting my point now? So it's a matter of debate. We exactly don't know how it is coming. Various scientists have given various theories. There are 5 theories. What are the 5 theories, people? First, congenital cell rest. Second, Whitmack theory. Third is Rudy's theory. Then Haberman theory. Then Sede's theory. These are the name of scientists. Whitmack, Rudy, Haberman, Sede. These are the name of scientists who have given these theory. I will explain you the 5 theories, the 5 flowcharts, the 5 diagram, 1 master chart. Okay, let's start. So you can see the master chart. You can take out your notebook and pen, start making that. Okay, so I will start the 5 theories. First, I'm starting, see the highlighter. I'm starting with congenital cell rest theory. Congenital cell rest theory. So the God has given the congenital cell rest. Congenital means God given. It is not human given. It's not acquired. It's God given. Wherever there is a word congenital, bhai Bhagwan ne diya. It's God given. Okay, so congenital cell rest are there. So maybe a quiescent cell rest given by the God we all have. But in some of them they get activated. Okay, maybe in our middle ear lining is cuboidal or columnar. This is middle ear lining, which is cuboidal or columnar. I believe it. That's absolutely right. But maybe the God, the great God, has given a rest, congenital cell rest. That is squamous. That is quiescent. And present in all of us. In some of them, they get activated and it forms the cholesteatoma, the simplest theory. Okay, so there are congenital cell rest of keratinizing squamous epithelia present in the middle ear or mastoid in all of us. Normally they are quiescent, they are quiet. Normally they are quiet. In some of them they get active. The one in which they get active, the unlucky people, in them the cholesteatoma is formed. People say, you got the first theory? So this is the first theory, congenital cell rest. Can you appreciate the congenital cell rest, the God-given cell rest? Normally they are inactive. Coming on the second theory. The second theory is Whitmack theory. What is this Whitmack theory? What do you mean by Whitmack theory? You know, sometimes there is eustachian tube obstruction. I told you various ways via which eustachian tube is obstructed. I taught you, okay? There can be adenoids, there can be tonsils, enlarged tonsils, there can be tumor in the nasopharynx, there can be rhinitis, sinusitis, upper respiratory tract infection. So via various ways, the eustachian tube can be obstructed. Maybe functional obstruction or maybe mechanical obstruction, whatever. If the eustachian tube is obstructed, we all know what's going to happen. You tell me what's going to happen. Many times I told you, if the eustachian tube is obstructed, air will not come in the middle ear. Middle ear will not be ventilated. So inside the middle ear, whatever air is present, it get absorbed. And inside the middle ear cleft, there will be negative pressure. Whenever there is a negative pressure, okay, you can see this is tympanic membrane. It will retract the tympanic membrane. Because of the negative pressure, it will pull the tympanic membrane. And inside the tympanic membrane, small retraction pockets are formed. It is not the complete tympanic membrane is retracted. Small retraction pockets are formed. That is Whitmack theory. Okay. Now you should know the lining of the tympanic membrane. What is the lining of the tympanic membrane? Have you watched my session of anatomy of ear? People, the lining of the tympanic membrane. Appreciate the tympanic membrane. Now in this diagram, you can see this is external auditory canal. Let me highlight external auditory canal. This is external auditory canal. Okay, which is squamous epithelia. So outermost lining of tympanic membrane have 3 layers. The outermost layer is like EAC. It is squamous epithelia. And inner layer, this is middle ear. The middle ear is columnar, mucosal, columnar or cuboidal. So innermost layer is the continuation of the middle ear. Okay, the middle layer is fibrous. I taught you this. This is tympanic membrane. I guess you can appreciate the tympanic membrane over here. Can you appreciate the tympanic membrane? So tympanic membrane have 3 layers. The outer layer is squamous, which is continuation of EAC. The inner layer is mucosal, which is continuation of the middle layer. And the middle layer is fibrous. How many of you got it? How many of you got it? This I taught you, no? So these are the three layers you can see. Now you imagine in the middle layer. Imagine the middle layer. This is middle layer, no? In the middle layer, there is negative pressure because the eustachian tube is obstructed. So what's going to happen? This tympanic membrane is going to retract it. So there are small retraction pockets will be formed here. Retraction pockets may all the three layers are going to invaginate. We are getting my point. So this outermost squamous is going to invaginate inside. This is how the squamous is entering the middle ear cleft. You are getting my point. So the same thing is written in the form of the flowchart. Whenever there is a eustachian tube obstruction, there is negative pressure in the tympanic cavity. Because of the negative pressure, there is invagination of the tympanic membrane and it is forming small retraction pockets. I will show you. You can appreciate. If you imagine this one is the EAC. Okay, this one is the EAC and this one is the middle ear. Okay, you know their lining are different. Their lining, I'm showing you with different color. Now appreciate the tympanic membrane. Now if there is negative pressure in the middle ear, it is pulling the tympanic membrane. This is malleus. Okay, I appreciate the tympanic membrane. So in the tympanic membrane, I can appreciate a retraction pocket. Appreciate which is going inside. This retraction pocket is growing inside. Now what does this retraction pocket contain? The retraction pocket contains three layers. The outermost layer is squamous, the middle layer is the fibrous, innermost layer is mucosal. So this is how the squamous epithelia entering the middle ear cleft and form the grow and form cholesteatoma. How many of you got it? So retraction pockets are formed. The outer surface of the tympanic membrane is stratified squamous epithelia out of the three layers. After invagination, the outer layer form the matrix of cholesteatoma. It keep on lading the keratin and this is how cholesteatoma is formed. People, I take so much efforts to make these flowcharts. This is not a ready-made version available ready-made to me. I make this. Okay, I read the paragraphs in multiple books and convert the simplest form by putting them in vertical, giving the arrows. So kindly say whether you got it or didn't got it. Huh? Got it. So everything I'm giving you in the form of a flowchart and diagram. These diagrams are given nowhere. You know, I have created these diagrams for you for your better understanding. So kindly keep responding. You got it or didn't got it. So Wittmann theory, also known as the other name, retraction pocket theory. Retraction pocket theory. Because here in tympanic membrane, retraction pockets are formed. It is known as retraction pocket theory. Okay, so this is how. And via retraction pocket, how squamous epithelia is going inside, you got it. For that, you should know the lining of the tympanic membrane. Tympanic membrane have three layers. The outermost one is the squamous. The middle one is the fibrous. And the innermost one is mucosal. So all three layers are invaginating in the pocket. So you can appreciate, I'm not interested in all three. I'm interested in this blue one. So squamous is invaginating. That will form the matrix of the cholesteatoma after going inside. And it will keep on laying the keratin debris. And this is how it will grow inside and form the cholesteatoma. Okay, it's very dangerous, cholesteatoma. The same you can see. You can appreciate the same now. This is a diagram from the book. You can appreciate this is retraction pocket over here. Okay, in the tympanic, appreciate the tympanic membrane. Appreciate the retraction pocket. Appreciate how it's growing inside and forming the cholesteatoma. Okay, yes. So that is the Wittmann theory. You can appreciate the diagram. So first theory I taught you is congenital cell rest. The God-given cell rest are there in the middle ear cleft. And sometimes they get active and they form the cholesteatoma. Okay, the second theory I told you is retraction pocket theory. Here the tympanic membrane get retracted because of negative pressure in the middle ear. So tympanic membrane get retracted and start growing inside. This is how squamous epithelia is entering in the middle ear cleft. Coming on the third theory. The third theory is Rudi theory. Rudi is the name of the scientist who have given it. Rudi theory, also known as basal cell hyperplasia. You know, sometime in the middle ear infection occur. Infections are common, especially in children, the bottle feed children, the breastfeed children, in which bottle feed and breastfeed is done in horizontal position. Yesterday I taught you. So infections are common in children in the middle ear. Whenever there is an infection, the skin of external auditory canal get irritated in infection. Okay, whenever infection in the ear, not middle ear, suppose there is an infection over here I am having in the pinna, in the EAC. So EAC, the skin of the EAC get irritated. Okay, so basal cells of the skin, germinal layer of the skin, they undergo hyperplasia because it is acting as a stress. You know, pathology mein, whenever there is a stress, there is adaptation. The 5 types of adaptations I taught you in pathology: hypertrophy, hyperplasia, metaplasia, dysplasia, atrophy. You know, so the infection is acting as a stress on the EAC. in the ESC, in the external auditory canal. Okay, so that external auditory canal get irritated. The cells of the external auditory canal, the skin cells get irritated, and the basal cells undergo hyperplasia. And after doing hyperplasia, they proliferate and they enter in the middle ear. They enter in the middle ear and they form the cholesteatoma. So can you see here? Here, please appreciate, this is EAC. Red color se EAC dikhaya hai. This is EAC. The cells of the EAC are growing inside, not the tympanic membrane. What is the difference between the two theories I taught you? The second one and the third one. Wittmaack theory and Rudy theory. Wittmaack theory is retraction pocket theory. Rudy theory is basal cell hyperplasia. Please appreciate the difference. Here the tympanic membrane retraction pocket is formed and that's going inside. Here the squamous epithelia is formed by the tympanic membrane. And in basal cell hyperplasia or Rudy's theory, it is EAC which is going inside, the skin of the EAC getting irritated because of infection and going inside. How many of you got it? How many of you got it? That is Rudy's theory. So you have to understand the difference between the two. Wittmann theory mein tympanic membrane is retracting and going inside and giving the squamous epithelia. In Rudy's theory, it is EAC which is going inside and giving the squamous epithelia. Because EAC and tympanic membrane both have the squamous epithelia. Both have the squamous epithelia. So yes, that is Rudy's theory. You can see. So here you can see EAC ke cells, they undergo hyperplasia. And since they undergo hyperplasia, they proliferate and they are going in the middle ear cleft. So squamous epithelia in the middle ear cleft, and that's cholesteatoma. This is how cholesteatoma is formed. Yes, infection is the trigger over here. Infection is trigger, wo to theek hai. That's good, Hershey. The point is that it's EAC which is laying the squamous epithelia in the middle ear. In the last theory, it was tympanic membrane which was laying squamous epithelia in the middle ear. So who is giving squamous epithelia in the middle ear? That's the point. So you got it, the three theories till now I taught you. In congenital cell rest, the God-given congenital cell rest are there. In Wittmaack theory, it is the tympanic membrane which is invaginating because of negative pressure. It is tympanic membrane which is invaginating. There we have infection of eustachian tube. That's why negative pressure in the middle ear, and that's causing retraction of the tympanic membrane. In Rudy's theory, there is infection of the EAC. Okay, which is causing proliferation of the cells, basal cells of the EAC, and that's proliferating in the middle ear. Bhai, middle ear mein squamous epithelia to hai, middle ear mein to squamous epithelia to hai, but who is giving this squamous epithelia? The squamous epithelia here given by the invaginating tympanic membrane. Here the squamous epithelia is given by the basal cells of the germinal layer of the EAC. Here also we have the infection, here also we have the infection. Infection is the trigger in both of them. Here we have infection of the eustachian tubes, that's creating the negative pressure, and that's the trigger. Here we have infection of external ear, EAC, that's the trigger. Okay, coming on the fourth theory. The fourth theory is Haberman theory. Haberman theory. What is Haberman theory? Haberman theory says that it exists only when there is a pre-existing perfo in the tympanic membrane. Imagine the tympanic membrane. This is tympanic membrane. Can you see here the tympanic? First you see where is EAC. This is EAC. Okay, this is EAC. And appreciate the tympanic membrane. So there is a little perfo over here. In the tympanic membrane, there is already a perfo. There is already a pre-existing perfo. If there is a pre-existing perfo, now either EAC or tympanic membrane, anyone can invaginate. Either the epithelium from the EAC or the epithelium from the tympanic membrane that grows in the middle ear. That grows in the middle ear. That grows in the middle ear through the pre-existing perfo, and they form the cholesteatoma. So in this theory, I am saying anyone among the two, it is laying. So appreciate all the theories together. Can you appreciate? So can you appreciate the congenital cell rest means God-given cell rest, the squamous cell rest. In Wittmaack theory, it is tympanic membrane which is invaginating inside. In Rudy's theory, it is EAC which is invaginating inside. Okay. In Haberman theory, there is a pre-existing perfo, and from this pre-existing perfo, any of the two, either tympanic membrane or EAC, is invaginating inside and laying the squamous epithelia. Any confusion? Any confusion? The last theory is SETS or Sede, whatever you pronounce, the name of the scientist. Sede theory. It is metaplasia theory. What is metaplasia? I taught you metaplasia in pathology in second prof. Huh? It's a type of adaptation. What is metaplasia? Metaplasia is transformation of one type of epithelia to another. So either squamous convert into columnar or columnar convert into squamous. So transformation of one type of mature epithelia to another type of mature epithelia. That's metaplasia. That's metaplasia. So the last theory says that, see the above diagram. Don't see the below one. See the above diagram. Last theory says that middle ear don't have squamous. Middle ear have only columnar, cuboidal and columnar. The cuboidal and columnar convert into squamous. It get converted via metaplasia. Via metaplasia it is converting. So squamous columnar is converting into squamous. Columnar is converting into squamous epithelia. That's metaplasia. That's metaplasia. कहीं बाहर से नहीं आ रहा. This squamous epithelia is not coming via tympanic, via EAC or via perforation. No, the pre-existing columnar or cuboidal getting converted to squamous, and that's the meaning of metaplasia. How many of you got it? This is metaplasia theory, Sade's theory. So due to repeated infection, again infection is a trigger, the middle ear mucosa get irritated. Okay, normally middle ear mucosa is columnar or cuboidal. Because of irritation, it undergo metaplasia, and from columnar or cuboidal, it convert to squamous. And this is how cholesteatoma is formed. How many of you got it? So these are the 5 theories, people in front of you, the summary of the 5 theories. Anyone have any confusion? The 5 theories, how does cholesteatoma form? Very important MCQs comes from this portion. Many MCQs you will get. Okay, and not only this, you get the question on your university exam also, the short question on each theory or the long question, theories or origin of cholesteatoma. Anyone have any confusion? Give me a thumbs up, everyone. Huh? So these are the 5 theories. You can see congenital cell rest, the God-given cell rest in the middle ear. Whitmark theory may there is infection in the eustachian tube, which is creating negative pressure over here, which is retracting the tympanic membrane, and tympanic membrane is laying the squamous epithelia. Okay, in Rudy's theory, there is infection in the external auditory canal, and the cells of the external auditory canal get irritated. They undergo hyperplasia, not metaplasia. They undergo proliferation, and by proliferating, the EAC cells, the germinal cells, the basal cells of the EAC, they enter in the middle ear cavity and they form the cholesteatoma. In Haberman theory, there is a pre-existing perforation. Via this perforation, either tympanic membrane or EAC, squamous epithelia enter in the middle ear cleft and form the cholesteatoma. In Sade's theory, they say that no tympanic membrane, no EAC epithelia enter in the middle ear cleft. In the middle ear cleft, the columnar which already exists or cuboidal which already exists, it get converted to squamous because of repeated infection, and that's metaplasia. So these are the 5 theories. Draw 5 flowcharts, 5 diagram. Okay, the 5 theories. We are done with the origin of cholesteatoma. Till now, I taught you the introduction, definition, the 2 parts of the cholesteatoma, that is matrix and central core. Then origin of cholesteatoma, I taught you 5 theories over there. Okay, now I'm coming on classification of cholesteatoma. Let's start the classification of cholesteatoma. Can I start? Classification of cholesteatoma. We divide cholesteatoma broadly into 2 categories, congenital and acquired. Acquired is further of 2 types, primary and secondary. This is what I want to say. So cholesteatoma are of 2 types, congenital and acquired. Acquired is of 2 types, primary and secondary. You can understand now, out of the 5 theories, which will fit where? There are 5 theories now. The first theory, the congenital cell rest will fit here. If you consider that out of the 5 theories, 1 is correct. We don't know which one. Okay, not all 5 are correct. Maybe 1 is correct. But you know, various scientists have given various theory and we don't know which one is correct. So if the first theory is correct, congenital cholesteatoma ka origin is God given. Okay, acquired one may, the remaining 4 theories are there. What do you mean by primary? What do you mean by secondary? Primary may there is no pre-existing perfo. No pre-existing perfo in the tympanic membrane. Secondary may there is pre-existing perfo. There is pre-existing perfo in the tympanic membrane. Now you tell me which theory will fit where. You know which theory out of the remaining 4 theories. Let me tell you. So one by one we will take first congenital, then primary acquired, then secondary acquired. What is congenital? Congenital arises from the embryonic cell rest, congenital cell rest, which are given by the God in the middle ear. They are present in all of us, but they are quiet, they are quiescent. And some of them, they get activated, they proliferate and they form the cholesteatoma. I have already explained you. Okay. Now it is not the thing that these cell rests are present only in middle ear. They are present in petrous bone also and CP angle, cerebropontine angle also. But currently we are interested in middle ear only. Okay. So this theory is fitting over here. Out of the 5 theories, the first theory is explaining the congenital cholesteatoma. The congenital cholesteatoma is due to embryonic congenital squamous cell rest in the middle ear cleft given by the God. So that is congenital cell rest. Okay, what does it do? Whenever there is a congenital cholesteatoma in the middle ear, okay, so it is seen as a white mass behind the intact tympanic membrane. Here tympanic membrane is intact, there is no perfo. And I can see a white color mass behind the intact tympanic membrane. And that produces a conductive hearing loss. You use your common sense. You tell me if cholesteatoma is there. You know, if cholesteatoma is there, here is the cholesteatoma. You tell me which type of hearing loss is that. So if the sound waves are coming, is it conductive or is it sensory neural? It is present in the middle ear, no? As an obstruction in the middle ear. So it will be conductive hearing loss. So it will present as a conductive hearing loss. Obviously, it will present as a conductive hearing loss. Okay, the first thing. The second thing, sometimes the tympanic membrane get ruptured. If the tympanic membrane get ruptured, the ear is discharging ear. You know, from the ear the discharge come out. The cholesteatoma, degrade into small white particles, and with the discharge, these white particles come out. Okay, so here a discharging ear will be there. So that is congenital cholesteatoma. I've explained you how does congenital cholesteatoma form. It is formed by the first theory, that is congenital cell rest, embryonic congenital cell rest given by the God. How it is seen? As a white mass behind the intact tympanic membrane. Okay, how does it present? Only one complaint: patient have conductive hearing deafness, and sometimes tympanic membrane get ruptured because of this. And in that case, otorrhea also present, discharging ear along with deafness. The discharging ear also present. That's congenital. Coming on acquired, which is of two types. So first say primary acquired. Primary acquired. Acquired में first I am saying primary. What is primary? In primary there is no history of pre-existing perfo. There is no pre-existing perfo. यहाँ पे कोई pre-existing perfo नहीं है. So which theories are fitting? Yes, absolutely right, Hershey. Which theories will fit in the primary acquired? There is no pre-existing perfo. So it is not congenital. And there is no pre-existing perfo, so it's not Haberman. The remaining three theories are there. Either invagination of the tympanic membrane, or basal cell hyperplasia, or squamous metaplasia. So remaining three theories, that is number 2, number 3, and number 5, are explaining the origin of the primary. They are explaining the origin of the primary. Okay, coming on the secondary. Secondary को secondary क्यों बोलते हैं? Why we call it secondary? The secondary, there is already a pre-existing perfo in the tympanic membrane. Secondary means there is already a disease. एंड द कोलेस्ट्रोटोमा इज सेकेंडरी. देयर इज ऑलरेडी पहले से ही परफो था ना, सोने पे सुहागा कोलेस्ट्रोटोमा और हो गया. Okay, so secondary means there was already pre-existing perfo, and now cholesteatoma also arises. So it's a secondary cholesteatoma. Which theories among them will prove that? So pre-existing perfo occurs over here. Haberman theory, and metaplasia can also hold good here. So metaplasia wala theory coming in both primary and secondary. So you should know which theory proves the origin of which type of cholesteatoma. So there are three types of cholesteatoma: congenital, primary acquired, secondary acquired. Congenital cholesteatoma can be proven by congenital cell rest, embryonic congenital cell rest. The primary cholesteatoma can be proven by these: Whitman theory, Rudy's theory, Seday's theory. Okay, and the secondary cholesteatoma is proven by this. This is secondary. Secondary is also proven by Seday's, but mainly it's Haberman. Yes, absolutely right. This is how you can understand. How many of you got it? So I taught you introduction, in which I taught you the lining of the middle ear. Then I taught you what is the definition of cholesteatoma. What is cholesteatoma? Tell me in short. What is cholesteatoma? Cholesteatoma is squamous epithelia in middle ear. Normally middle ear don't have squamous epithelia. Normally the lining of middle ear is columnar or cuboidal, but it's not squamous. If squamous epithelia present in the middle ear, it's cholesteatoma. I taught you it's two parts. What are the two parts? It is having a matrix, which is formed by the squamous epithelial lining, and it is having a mass, central mass, which is made up of keratin laid by the matrix. Okay, then I taught you 5 theories of origin. You know the 5 theories. Then I taught you the classification. In the classification, I taught you total 3 types: congenital, primary acquired, secondary acquired. I taught you which theory is proving which type. I have correlated. And finally, the last thing in cholesteatoma, before starting CSOM, I'm teaching you cholesteatoma is dangerous. Why it is dangerous? Because it is having a property to destroy bone. Middle ear is present inside the bone. It is having a property to destroy the bone. That's why it's dangerous. You may be thinking, why I'm teaching you this topic? Why it is so dangerous? It is dangerous because cholesteatoma is not, quiescent. It's active, and it is having a property to destroy the bone. Once it get expand, whatever bone it come in contact with, it destroy that bone. Now you tell me in the middle ear, how many bones are present? The middle ear itself is a cube, which is present in the petrous part of the temporal bone. I told you, in the petrous part of the temporal bone, its cavity, the middle ear cleft is there. The middle ear, anteriorly, it is connected with eustachian tube. Posteriorly, it is connected to mastoid antrum via adductus. You have to understand, this is eustachian tube or this is mastoid antrum. It is connected with mastoid antrum via adductus. If you consider this is anterior, this is posterior, and it is present in the bone. And inside the middle ear cavity, yesterday also we have revised the anatomy. We are having 3 ossicles, MIS, which are also bone. MIS. Now imagine a cholesteatoma is formed over here. So whatever bones it is coming in contact, it is coming in contact with ossicles. So M will get destroyed, I will get destroyed, S will get destroyed. The tympanic cavity bone, the temporal bone get destroyed. So above it is connected with the brain, below it is connected with the jugular foramen, like that. So the bone keep on getting destroyed. So cholesteatoma are dangerous, you know. So this is what we have to see. Last thing, cholesteatoma have a property of destroying bone. Once cholesteatoma enter the middle ear, they are formed in the middle ear, they enter the middle ear cleft, they invade, they have a property of invading the surrounding structure. They keep on invade यानी घुसना, वो हर structure में घुस जाते हैं, घुसना. They invade the surrounding structure. First they follow the path of least resistance and they keep on destroying all the structures. Can you see, this is cholesteatoma. Wherever it is coming in contact with, it will keep on destroying that thing. This is cholesteatoma. Okay, in the middle ear cleft. So whatever structure it is coming in contact with, it will keep on destroying, invading and destroying. It's dangerous. So whenever there is a cholesteatoma in the attic portion, attic means superior portion. Cholesteatoma are more common in the attic portion, yani superior portion of the middle ear cleft. We divide the middle ear cleft into three parts, na? If you remember, see, this is tympanic membrane. Appreciate, this is tympanic membrane. Let me divide the middle ear cavity into three portions. One above the tympanic membrane, one in front of the tympanic membrane, one below the tympanic membrane. So this is known as epitympanum, mesotympanum, hypotympanum. People, please watch my session of anatomy. I'm not teaching you again. So this portion is epitympanum. This is known as attic. Attic means superior portion. This portion is mesotympanum and this portion is hypotympanum. So cholesteatoma are more common in attic portion, the superior portion. That's what I mean. So whenever there is an attic cholesteatoma, attic is superior cholesteatoma. So with all bone it is coming in contact. You tell me, with all bones it is coming in contact. It is going downward to mesotympanum. So it will enter in the mesotympanum and destroy the ossicles. Destroy the ossicles. Okay, it will go medially and destroy the malleus and incus. Okay, and it will go backward into the mastoid. You know the mastoid, the middle ear cavity is connected with the mastoid via adductors. It will go in the mastoid and it will destroy the mastoid also. How many of you got it? People, you have to understand middle ear, the middle ear cleft, the middle ear cavity. You remember that diagram? This is middle ear cleft. It is connected on one side with eustachian tube, on another side with mastoid antrum via adductors. So if there is a cholesteatoma over here, okay, it will enter into mastoid and destroy the mastoid also. Because middle ear is connected with the mastoid via adductors. Via adductors. How many of you got it? So this is how it keep on destroying all the thing. So whenever there is a, how it destroy? What actually is destroying? It liberates enzymes. The enzymes are causing the destruction. So whenever there is a cholesteatoma, it produces osteoclast cells and inflammatory cells. The osteoclast and inflammatory cells produce various enzymes. Name the enzymes like collagenase, acid phosphatase, and various proteolytic enzymes that cause the bone destruction. So who is actually causing the bone destruction? It's the inflammatory cells and osteoclast, which are produced by cholesteatoma. So whenever there is a cholesteatoma, it produces inflammatory cells and osteoclast. The inflammatory cells and osteoclast produce various enzymes, and these enzymes have bone destructive property. So that's why cholesteatoma have a property to destroy. This is how cholesteatoma destroy bone. Name the bone it can destroy. It can destroy all three ossicles, M, I, S. So first of all, it destroy M, then I, then S. Not only this, then it go to the inner ear. In the inner ear, if you remember, I told you the tube inside a tire. Yaad aaya kya? What is tire? The bony labyrinth. Inside which membranous labyrinth is present. So first there is bony labyrinth, na? Inside which membranous, the tire and the tube. So destroy the tire. I mean, it destroy the bony labyrinth of the inner ear. Okay, not only this, there is facial nerve canal over here. It destroy the facial nerve canal, which is bone. It destroy the tegmen tympani. Tegmen tympani is the bone which separate the middle ear from the brain, from the cranial fossa. It destroy that bone and enter the brain. So everywhere it is destroying the bone all around, anteriorly, posteriorly, medially, laterally, superiorly, and it is growing everywhere. It is keep on increasing the size, so it's very dangerous. So these all bones it keep on destroying. It is a property to destroy the bone. That's why cholesteatoma, there are innumerous complications. So complications of cholesteatoma, what are the complications if it grows upward? What are the complications if it grows downwards? What are the complications if it grows laterally, if it grows medially, if it grows superiorly, if it grows inferiorly, like that? You know, anteriorly, posteriorly, like that. So cholesteatoma can grow anywhere. It destroys bone all around, whatever bone it comes in contact with. And it causes many complications. Say, people say, got it, cholesteatoma. Done, done. We will revise it. Come on, say. So what is the introduction of cholesteatoma? You tell me what is called lining of the middle ear. Normally, middle ear is having columnar or cuboidal lining. Middle ear don't have squamous. This is my introduction. So you tell me the definition of cholesteatoma. What is cholesteatoma? Squamous in middle ear. If the middle ear have squamous epithelia, squamous in middle ear. Normally middle ear don't have squamous. If squamous epithelia present, this is squamous epithelia. If it enter the middle ear, it will form a mass. And that form a mass, and that mass is cholesteatoma. So you can say it's skin at the wrong place. That is the definition of cholesteatoma, and it's a misnomer. Neither it is having cholesterol granules and nor it's a tumor. It's a misnomer. That's you have to write in the definition. Now coming on the parts. What are the parts of cholesteatoma? It is having two parts. What are the two parts of cholesteatoma? Outer part is matrix, which is made up of the squamous epithelium. Keratinized squamous epithelium. Okay, keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. And this squamous epithelium keep on forming the keratin debris that will accumulate at the center. So keratin debris will accumulate at the center. The keratin debris will accumulate. So outer part is the epithelium and central part is keratin debris. So these are the two parts. Okay. Origin. For origin, I taught you 5 theories. You can see the 5 theories in front of you. Types. I taught you total 3 types. One is congenital, one is primary acquired, one is secondary acquired. And I correlated which theory is fitting where. Okay, then I taught you how cholesteatoma have a property of destroying bone. See, cholesteatoma is destroying bone everywhere. But how? Because cholesteatoma is associated with osteoclast and inflammatory cells. These osteoclast and inflammatory cells produce enzymes, and these enzymes have bone destroying properties. So with this, I complete my first topic, cholesteatoma, which was smaller one.